Hi, it's been a little while. Sorry to leave you hanging for so long. I had some stuff come up in my life, but I'm getting back into it now. Hi, I've been streaming tons of Broken Arrow, and time to do some videos of it again. This match was from, actually, I don't remember how long ago now. Week or two. Let me unpause my playback. As you can see on my account, I haven't really been putting time into making these YouTube videos, as you guys know. Again, sorry about that, but I have been keeping up with my streaming since the game came out. I'm high level, my elo was on the rise. I think this is like a couple of weeks ago. I'm voting for Ruda. It's a US mirror match, and I'm playing well, at this point it was a new deck. Fast forward a couple of weeks to present day when I'm recording this, actually, this ended up being the deck I play all the time now. But back then I was still figuring this deck out, so we'll see a little bit of a proto version of what I'm playing with at the moment, called Sit Master. You can see all the other decks I've run through there. I've changed how I play this game a lot. I've been busy in real life, and that's one of the reasons that I've just been keeping up with streaming, and then, real life stuff as well. But also, I've been putting off putting out more YouTube videos, for many reasons, most of them stupid. One of them is just, like, I kept feeling like I was reinventing how to play the game to myself a lot. And I kept going like, oh, well, you know what, I want to practice this a little bit more, then I'll make a video about it, or I'll do another match video after I figured out this kink in my deck or something like that. And in the end, I just keep evolving. I feel like every week I can't recognize the way I used to play this game. It's a bit of exaggeration, but to a certain sense, So anyway, I've just had to realize, one, I need to forcibly make some time for making some YouTube again. Sorry to leave you hanging, because I know most of you don't watch my stream. Most of you are on here watching videos when I put them out. So here you go. Hopefully doing more as we go. And two, just like, I think I'm just going to keep changing how I play all the time, and I just need to, not worry about my style being outdated when I do a video, so we just do videos. So here we go. No more talking about the meta of it, let's just talk about the game. So it's a US mirror match. I'm playing Airborne Armored. This deck is a little bit outdated, a couple of weeks old in, like, its very proto form here. I've made a lot of changes to it since, but the general concept is the same, that I just love Armored Airborne. In fact, I love it too much. I started basically playing nothing but Armored Airborne for weeks, multiple weeks, I think. And it's still, to this day, the time of speaking, it's like my main comfort deck, my main deck I'm experienced with and feel good with. It's just got all of the general tools that I love. It's a very conventional warfare kind of deck. I adore it, and we'll see some of those units during this match, no doubt. I'm doing my starter rollout that I tended towards back here, which is a very air tax heavy rollout of a couple of F-15Cs, fighters, and then I have a Patriot, 2 Patriots coming out, and then I'm rolling out a small amount of supplies to rearm them during the initial air tax phase, but no much more than that. And this is like all my points spent on the air tax phase. I started doing this because I almost exclusively solo queue in this game. I don't play with other people. And so I very much fall into a style of trying to fill in whatever gap needs to be filled. Earlier on the climb, you would get a lot of matches where just nobody did air tax. So I very much fell into I will be the one-man air tax. I will do both my fighters, and I will also provide Patriots so that I can run back to and play around my ground AA net for safety if I'm super outnumbered by enemy fighters. These days, I actually haven't needed to do it as much, because I'm tending to more play with teammates who do air tax. You can see in this match they do as well, which is good. And on the contrary, I actually started realizing I really need to, I really want to be, providing more ground rollout instead, because Phase 1 is very important for positioning. Wherever the front line gets drawn is, for the whole match, it's gonna start defined in Phase 1. And this is why helicopter rollouts are so important. This is why the air tax phase is so important. You'll meet some people who say things like, well, who cares about jets? Nah, don't, who cares about air tax? Waste of money, whatever. I don't care, we just want to do helicopter rollouts. That's fine, but then the enemy will do helicopter rollouts and cargo drop-out rollouts to you, and then they will take the ground first, and they will define where the fight's going to be at. It's generally easier to defend than it is to attack. Or at the very least, it's generally cheaper, with the kind of units you can use for it. And so, in more ways than one, you're just giving the enemy all the initiative, and it's not a good idea. As always, I'm trying to level up my commentary of these things too. I'm a little bit out of practice now, but I don't want to go on about things forever and miss what's going on in front of me in the match, but, you know, it's a very fucking bad idea, in my opinion. And don't do it. Pay your air attacks, prevent people from doing good air rollouts on you. Do not let them grab all the ground before you. Now, in this case, like I said, that's why these days I don't really do this as much. These last few days I've been doing half air tax and half ground rollout. But in this case, because I was still back then doing this completely like air tax focused rollout, my own ground rollout was very late. Now this was kind of by design, back when I played it this way, and I still do this sometimes, where again, as kind of like a solo queue player, I want to encourage my teammates to take as much ground as I can, because ideally, you know, everyone's on the front line somewhere. Even if they want to focus on other stuff than frontline fighting, everyone is at least providing some kind of frontline troops to hold a zone. And, you know, one way of thinking about that is if I don't take a zone in the first 2 minutes, I just focus on the air attacks, it's more likely the other 4 will go, oh, I need to put some troops there. Which then lets me, you know, either reinforce them, do other stuff later. Just like, encourages our team as a whole. Because I'm always planning to take a frontline afterwards still. Encourages our team as a whole to take more ground, rather than maybe I take a frontline zone and someone's like, oh, everyone's got the frontline covered, I'll just play artillery, and it's like, no, please don't do that. So, the problem here is, though, that, well, the other reason is, too, as I was giving you the air tax, and, you know, also I was playing more heavy armor back in, like, a couple of weeks ago, so I wanted to, like, just wait till I had money for that anyway. Anyway, not to get too lost in the past here, it's a little bit weird for me because this match is a couple of weeks old, like I said. But the point is, these days I'm much more rolling out with half and half because, as you can see here, I just told you a lot about how it's bad to let the enemy dictate where the front lines are drawn, and the enemy's beaten me to the point that I'm going to end up fighting over here for the majority of this match, I point. And that's just because they didn't have to use helicopters, they just drove. They just had wheeled vehicles. Wheeled vehicles are faster than tracked ones, and I rolled out my tracked CFV there a bit late anyway. Bringing in an Apache here to try and... I think this is a cheap one, right? Yeah, this is like a 170 points. It's just got rocket pods on it, APKWS, the good rocket pods. Just bringing it in to try and get some kills on all of this kind of flimsy moto stuff that Maroon here has brought in against me on I. We've already taken a Stinger hit, and I've gone low as a result. But I'm not too scared of losing this Apache because it is quite cheap. So I'm still trying to creep around and, you know, maybe snipe that Humvee, get something else. Unfortunately, I'm kind of learning something here that I don't think fully clicked with me this match, but is very clicked in my head now, which is you can't really hide very well behind 1-2-story houses in this game, like you're seeing in front of us. Those houses are really not high enough to do low-altitude shenanigans behind as a helicopter. And you can see there, even though I wasn't really getting acquired till I was in between the gaps of those buildings, it's still, I wasn't able to get any cover by getting back behind them. I wasn't able to, like, jump between cover to cover there of the helicopter, because the Stinger's still going to hit me or near miss me, and, you know, it's going to be good enough to kill me. I'm not a Russian gunship. The Russian gunships in this game are very tanky. Apaches are just semi-tanky, so I can't really get away with being quite so bullying with my helicopter play. Early drone I bring in there shows me a slam ram from the enemy has come in, and then gets shot down by said slam ram. And meanwhile, I'm just kind of like, I mean, I didn't see what I called in. Hopefully something good to reinforce me here, because I'm going to meet on the ground right now. But basically, I'm just kind of like maneuvering this CFV back and forth between the buildings. The CFV is low enough to get away with this. I'm a little bit slow on the uptake, though. I'm going to lose an APS charge. But I'm just kind of like trying to annoy that tow team while also encouraging them to waste tows on me that are then going to hit the building. Unfortunately, I think auto smoke popped off there because it was like, oh, you're going to die. It's like, no, bro, I got a building in front of me. I'm fine. Anyway, now that we're down an APS charge and a smoke charge, I'm going to send that CFV over to the supply dump. Typically don't want to play vehicles that have lost their smoke because smoke is often the main difference between retreating successfully without much trouble and losing a perfectly glued unit for no reason. So we did bring in that supply dump earlier. I think it was a Blackhawk I brought that in. Blackhawks are great helicopters for logistics. I love them. Oh, and we're getting a little stutter. This was unfortunate. I don't know why I occasionally get this with certain matches, but this annoyed me. I had a few stutters in this match. There'll be a point coming up. I think actually it's now where I pause my recording and restart it. Because the game, as you can see, just froze for me for ages. It's kind of like, yeah, I wasn't in the middle of a fight when it happened. And if you bear with me, I have to pause. And I have to swap over to my second when I started re-recording this. Okay, and the time is just ticked over to 11, and I'm going to unpause. Sorry, got to stitch that together in editing. Anyway, yeah, very lucky that I wasn't in the middle of a fight when that happened. But as we come back in here now, after missing about 10 or 20 seconds in the match, you can see, oh, suddenly a lot of Maroon stuff here. They've got a mouse over that, Beagle. What is that? They've got an Abrams. I don't know if it's a trophy Abrams. I'm going to assume it is. They've got an M60 back there. They're armored airborne as well. They've got IFVs and airborne tow teams. Airborne next generation weapon squad. Is that me bombing them there with my Iron Thunders? I'm not sure if that's my teammate doing a bombing run. We'll see. Nice cheater, says my teammate. I don't know. They're having a bad time, apparently. Tows are coming in. Tow Humvee on the right. Tow team on the left in the building. I've known that Tow Humvee's on the right the whole time. It's why I finally brought in this artillery, I think, so I can start bombing these guys. I end up going for the Tow team first. They're pushing quite aggressively, though. They've got Marine Raiders, CQC, I assume, there. Pushing and taking my snipers down, unfortunately. My buddy here, though, LM Stalker, is that them? They've got their own Marine Raiders here, fighting the enemy Marine Raiders, which is very nice of them. Thanks for the help. Unfortunately, my buddy does not have the Abrams that Maroon has, so they're not going to be able to actually win that fight for me. And while these Bradley CFVs, I love them, and while they're very good at fighting at longer ranges, they'll have a little bit of a harder time at close range. Still, they almost took out that Abrams, because it's not a trophy, actually, it's just an HC. It's got no APS. Actually kind of unfortunate that this Bradley wasted a shot on that tow Humvee on the right, and wasted again. Just the gunner is panicked and just put the tow into the ground there, or smoke distracted me, I guess. Either way, that Abrams gets away with it again, and now I've got that M60 pushing me. Oh, and I smoked too late. I've had to learn this more and more every match, but you really can't get away with smoking late. Hang on, my cat needs food. 1 second. There you go, boy. You can't get away with smoking late. Especially, I think, because I have a bit of ping. I think that doesn't help. Because the hit detection is like client-side in this game, I think. So you smoke a bit late on your screen, it looks, you know, in time for you, but for the enemy, they've already fired and killed your unit, so you'll die. Trying to get lasers to guide onto this M1A1HC. Nice! Yes! Lasers are very, very powerful. Many things have changed since I last talked about playing this game with all of you on YouTube. One of them is that I pretty much exclusively use laser-guided howitzers now. I didn't think I needed Iron Thunders. I thought it was better to run cheaper HE howitzers and just saturate an area. And then I used Iron Thunders properly with lasers again, and then I went, nope, there really is no substitute for laser-guided HE artillery in this game. If it's not going to be laser-guided HE, it should be cluster, I think. Because cluster can ruin vehicles in a pretty wide area of effect. But if it's HE, and you want to do more than just annoy infantry, and you're not using one of like the crazy things like the Russian Tulpans and stuff that are like 240mm mortars, which just devastate areas. And they are laser guided too, I think, if you want. Anyway, the point is, if you're not doing that stuff, you need to be laser guided so you can take out vehicles with them, I think. And as you can see, it's not super easy if the vehicle's on the move, but if the vehicle sits still even for a little bit, and you get some laser guided HE rounds on it, and they hit the top armor, they will blow that thing up in like 2 to 4 hits pretty nicely. So I really don't leave home without my laser-guided howitzers these days. They're very useful, they're very important. Artillery is very important. As is recon, though. In hindsight, I'd say I have too much of it here. I have 2 snipers and only like 1 weapon squad. I think I have another weapon squad in the tree line. Looking at my overall unit composition right here, I would say that I really don't have enough fighting units. Of course, this was stuff I was kind of like figuring out a lot. I've been playing a lot of this game, and like I keep saying, my style's been changing a lot. Ooh, the client side there. Ping. It's a little bit late to get in the building there, so I still take full damage like I was outside, I think. Not complaining about the ping, like it's fine. Like it's just more that like I just see that now, like, oh, that's probably why those guys took half health damage rather than quarter health. It's just interesting. I need to be quicker there to get them in the building. Is that a CEV? The way it's like obliterating my dudes, I wonder. It's like doing 4 guys in 1 shot. Mouse over it. Is that an M60 CFE? Yeah, it's a CEV. M60 CFE is very scary. These are like the 800-meter range engineering vehicle versions of the M60 that are actually cheaper. They're very good at killing infantry, and actually good at killing vehicles too. Luckily, the Bradley CFE is there to kill it. But yeah, I'm really lacking like just enough fighting units here. Like I've got my weapons teams here. I was starting to really like these guys at this point. As this deck has evolved, I've gone all in on the weapon squads, and I pair them much more efficiently with airborne weapon squads these days. Oh, stutters out of it again. Annoying. But I wasn't quite there yet with this match. I was still kind of figuring things out. And so I was using the weapon squads just on their own here and not really have enough supplies. In future matches, I'll get to talk about how I use them today, which is basically... oh god, the stuttering was driving me nuts during this. Basically now I bring them in an MTV with an airborne squad, a weapon squad, and a 2,500 kilos of supplies to just fill up the rest of the supply load of the truck. And that's like a self-sufficient unit apart from anti-air. It can just kind of handle whatever the hell it needs to. It's a very good defensive unit. And it's kind of like my core atom building block of my play with infantry these days. It's very effective. But as said, I wasn't there yet. Here at this point, I was still just kind of like using whatever units. I ended up making like an editor scenario that I used to lab everything out. And that's where I discovered how much I like the Airborne plus Weapon Squad combo. I've actually put it on the workshop if anyone wants to use it. Maybe I'll link it in the description in this video. It's a little testing scenario I like to use to lab things out. But back to this match, Maroon brings in an F-18D there, I think, or I think so. It was a low-out bombing run then of Cluster. Takes out LM Stalker, LM Stalker's tank that was helping me out. We're back at it again. These fucking airborne tow Humvees are still getting me. I really should have eaten that with an APS charge and then just towed the enemy Humvee back, but I didn't. And we're coming to the end of Phase 1, and honestly, I don't think I've accomplished too much. I've been spending all my money, too much money, really. I think I probably invested in my artillery a little too early, actually. I haven't been able to hold a very strong fighting position here, and I would say a large part of that is... Well, I wasn't really clued into how I wanted to use infantry yet back here. One of the things I like about using airborne weapon squads as a 16-man combo these days is I learned a lot in labbing things out in the editor in how infantry inside shared buildings works. And this is a hot tip that you're going to see come up a lot when we get a little bit more advanced in the next videos, in time I mean, when we get more modern, more recent in my videos, my matches, is turns out infantry inside the same building do not care about AoE at all. Damage is applied to a building and all of its occupants as if it's a single unit. So if you deal 60 damage in an AoE, the people in that building that are in the same building will take 60 damage, and it'll get reduced by cover bonus to the building, and then it'll get spread between them. So 30 might, or 20 might go to one squad and 40 might go to another, and that might be 6 guys dead, or half that might be like 3 or 4 guys dead, right? Or whatever. I'm not doing the numbers right. But the point is, you wouldn't think so, but being inside a building together is actually a good thing when facing a lot of the weapons that kill infantry. If you're in 2 buildings side by side, you'll get AoE'd just like normal because you're 2 different buildings. But if you put your 16 guys, your 2 squads inside one building, both those squads, believe it or not, are actually more likely to survive because any damage applied... God, can you hear my neighbor right now? Any damage that is applied to that building is shared semi-randomly between the squads. Usually ends up being pretty even. And so in that way, if your building is hit by something, enough damage that could kill 8 guys on their own, so how much damage, I'm not going to do math right now because I'm yapping too much right now anyway, it'll get split, and then both your squads have got damage, but neither one of them will hopefully fully die. You'll be able to retreat them and resupply them, and it works out great. So it's great for surviving artillery, great for surviving a lot of things. It was kind of a quantum leap moment for me when I realized that. I saw people basically doing a lot as my ELA went up and I got against harder players. I was like, why is everyone stacking infantry now? Isn't that a bad, stupid idea? What am I in Clown World? It turns out, no. I was in Clown World myself because I was not doing it. Combining infantry inside buildings is not a vulnerability in a lot of cases if you understand what you're doing. It's actually a strength. But as you can see, I didn't know that yet. I was still splitting everyone up. These days, you'd see me put that airborne squad in with those weapon squads. That tow team might be on its own because it's a bit small, so I wouldn't trust it not to die randomly if it got hit by shared damage. But the other guys, I'd have them together, and it because it helps spread suppression as well. It's really good stuff. And the purpose of this quite long-winded tangent is to say that it helps infantry play immensely, because otherwise you get into a fight, and even when it's an AT unit versus a tank, that tank gets to shoot your AT unit once before it dies or twice. And now your AT unit has lost 2 to 3 to 4 guys. They're starting to flash yellow, suppress. They're flashing red, panic. They're not firing very quickly. You're finding 1 or 2 good tanks. They might even just kill your unit. It's like, what the hell? Everyone complains about this. Everyone's like, my fucking AT troops died to tanks. This game sucks. No. APS does flip the script and makes tanks way more survivable in situations that, if you grew up on war movies and war games and stuff, you might think that's bullshit. Tanks are meant to die in towns and woods or whatever. But there are ways around it. Infantry stacking is one of them. You're basically creating a super squad. It really helps you share the suppression out, share the damage, and survive, and be effective fighting forces in this very dangerous modern battlefield environment this game is all about. Anyway, a lot of fun to talk about, but I'm not doing it in this match. Because I hadn't figured it out yet. But, you know, at the very least, I'll be doing more of these commentaries again, so compare how infantry go in this match to how much stronger they're going to feel later on, and you'll probably be able to see the difference. As it is right now, my poor teammates come up to help me again. I really appreciate my teammates. If I mouse over them again, I'll see who it is for real, but I'm pretty sure this is LM Stalker I saw before. I really appreciate them coming up. No, LM Stalker is my enemy, sorry. I don't know who this is with me. Hopefully I mouse over them at some point so we can see. But the kind of pea-green player here, they've been sending up these little groups of units to help me out, keep my momentum up, keep my pressure up. I really appreciate it from them a lot. Right now, Marines actually coming in with a really bullying attack here. Is like... What is that? Is that a Viper? How do they have a Viper? I thought they were Armored Airborne. The hell? Am I stupid? Am I having a stroke right now? That was a Viper. Well, anyway, I guess I'm fighting... Oh, of course I am! I'm fighting Airborne Marines, because I'm fighting M60s. Duh. I'm so stupid. Don't listen to me, I'm just having like an old man moment. Anyway, yeah, they're bringing in a bunch of helicopters. Luckily for me, I had just brought in a bunch of SHORADs, so I jumped all those Stinger teams out of the APCs. I had my Kiowas with Stingers sitting back here behind my tree line. They've been there like the whole game to replace my lack of SHORAD. They weren't really needed till now, which, you know, is an income drain, but it's the same as if I had some SHORAD sitting around the whole time, never doing anything. So it's fine. They're just mobile helicopter versions of SHORAD, that's all. For me, the way I use them. Ah, stutters again. And luckily, because I have the combination of those Kiowas plus my Stinger guys just showed up, it's like the perfect timing to just obliterate all those helicopters. Maybe it would have been a little bit harder against Russian gunships. Those things are armored as fuck in this game. They don't even care about M2s. It kind of annoys me. It's like one of my pet peeves. I'm like, oh my god. I'm getting bullied by Russian gunships that just like laugh off my Browning machine guns. But anyway, I don't use them as much anymore. Anyway, US helicopters, you do not have that problem. US helicopters are incredibly flimsy in comparison and will die to a stiff breeze. And so they go down to Stingers real easy. Whereas Russian helos also eat Stingers for breakfast. They're scary, man. It's definitely one of the asymmetric advantages of Russia is their gunships are very bullying in that sense. But they don't get Hellfires. We get Hellfires, and Hellfires are pretty damn good. I'm bringing in more SHORAD now. It's probably like what you don't want to be doing is to just defeat something and then bring in the counter afterwards. Because, I mean, honestly, Maroon didn't get that much for all those helicopters, I don't think. So I'd say they're pretty unlikely to do that again. I think bringing in one Avenger is smart. I think 2 is fine. I think 3 is probably like me overreaching there. Also, I never figured out what my teammate was saying. Someone on the enemy team was cheating, but whatever. Doesn't seem to be affecting me. We got laser guided on those Airborne. Direct hit to the artillery, just gonna obliterate them. I've sent in my mech rifles and AGL team here. And I'm getting hit by artillery in turn, unfortunately. Wait until they're out. Hit and sprint then to get to the next building. You kind of like, it's kind of like dodging raindrops. You're escaping before the next HE round comes in. You don't want to get caught by the HE rounds outside of the building. That's awful, obviously. But you don't want to sit in the building forever if you think your squads are going to die if you don't move. So sometimes you just stay in the building and you kind of tough it out. Sometimes you move. Again, with that infantry stacking, it's a lot easier to tough it out these days for me. But back here, I'm using a 4-man AGL team and a 6-man mech rifle team that are already hurt. So they didn't have a lot of health left to work with there. In the end, though, these guys aren't really going to make it, unfortunately. This is before the recent patch that gave everyone 30-second sprints cooldowns on all infantry. So these poor AGLs are still working on the old 60-second cooldown, and they are going to get cooked in the open. That LMTV I was bringing with some supplies for them, that gets gunned down by these strikers coming in. Luckily, though, even though I don't have a lot of power on the point right now, I have been quietly in the background squirreling away a lot more combat troops into this zone. Along the flank, though, I'm playing the high ground. There's wooded mountains. Mountains is a strong word. Wooded hills on the right side. And you can see how, rather than just pushing down the middle of the little township here, the little village, I've been kind of creeping my way around the side with Bradley CFV, Recon Bradleys, and with some airborne squads. Which I think is going to be pretty decent for me here, because we're actually going to catch a lot of the enemy airborne coming in here, Marines Airborne, before they can get in the positions they want, or at least one of those squads. It looks like Red sent up some help as well. A little bit of mech NG. I don't know what I've got in that M13, but it's in a building now. Oh, it's some mech rifles and AGL again, that's what. But Maroon's also got a little HT coming in again. However, without APS, I don't think it's going to last too long once my Bradleys get line of sight on it. It's just that smoke's kind of busy in it right now. Unfortunately, the enemy's using mech engineers, and mech engineers are the CQB troops of Armored Spec. Even though they haven't got flashbangs, they're still going to beat non-CQB troops indoors because they have the shotguns. Yeah, so mech engineers do take my guys out there. However, the mech engineers don't live to celebrate their victory. They're dead now. We're taking the eye zone of that ML13. And my airborne inside this building are finally, with the help of some rocket artillery there, finishing off the enemy infantry around here as well. I have a really important thing to learn about infantry fighting that I did not understand at first, but I do now, is that infantry units actually take less damage when they're suppressed and then panicking. Oh, they're complaining because, like, Hex is reconning them. That's really funny. Anyway, it's really interesting. Because a lot of the time I would, like, get my infantry into an engagement, I would lose, like, 4 guys very quickly, and then my squad would become red suppressed from all the damage they took. And then my reaction, of course, would be to be like, oh, I'm going to lose the rest of my guys just as quickly if I don't get out of here. I better get the fuck out of here. When in reality, sometimes that's the worst thing you can do, because once you've lost the guys because you've taken enough damage to become suppressed, actually, now the damage reduction buff is in play, because when you're suppressed, you're firing worse, you're fighting worse, you're firing slower, but you're keeping your head down is the idea, and that's why you take less damage when suppressed in this game when you're infantry. It's reflecting your guys actually staying pinned down. So that is actually sometimes the perfect time to kind of hold your position and just chill, and don't move, don't run, because you're just going to die quicker in the open, and if you run away backwards, then we can chase you too. But sometimes, instead, take advantage of the fact that you have damage resistance now, realize that you're not going to die as quickly as you lost the first guys, and bring in some supporting units to help win that fight instead. It's a very mental game, Broken Arrow, and it's also very knowledge-based, and a lot of the stuff I've kept on learning, both about myself and how I play it and my flaws, but also these very interesting little details of mechanics that I'm not sure they really teach you, but change the game a lot. It's definitely, like I said at the start of this video, it's very much made me play very different week by week. I just keep changing hugely how I play. Speaking of how I'm playing, it's kind of time to look away from this lane. Now, even though I've taken Indigo on the right side here, I wouldn't say that I'm doing a super great job this match. I think I'm doing at this point, competent job, because I've taken my zone. As long as I hold it for the rest of the match, I'm doing a competent job as one of 5 teammates. But like I keep saying, I'm very used to playing solo queue, and to play solo queue, I've gotten used to the idea. Nice, teammates got laser on, thank you very much for these laser guided rounds. Oh, this is going to be fucking nice, actually, hang on. Oh no, the laser went off. Oh, that's nice. Anyway, sorry, the idea of... I kind of play all games like this. Like, I can't guarantee I'm going to win any match in a solo queue game. I don't own the other teammates. They don't owe me anything. You know, I don't even owe them trying. They don't even owe me to try. I mean, like, they're just here to have fun at the end of the day. That's all anyone playing a game is doing. Unless you're paying them, you can't really expect too much of them. Of course you can. Like, there's an understanding that, like, everyone should try their best in a comp game. But anyway, point is, I try to always look for what I can do more, rather than just being like, oh, okay, I did good because I took one zone. I think when you're solo queuing, if you want to have a good time solo queuing, you want to be more like, how can I carry my team as well, right? Like, consistently, to win more matches, how can I be the reason my team won as much as possible? And so in this case, holding one zone on the flank here isn't really doing enough. It's fine, but it's kind of like the baseline. What we want to be doing at this point is helping my teammate take hotel. And I think if I can contribute to holding hotel as well with my teammate there, help push them forward to it, and I keep a hold of eye, I'm doing, maybe not great, but I'm doing good as a solo queue teammate, right? Right now I'm a little bit busy though with macroing my artillery back here, managing my logistics. And I'm kind of setting up my people. I've got a couple of weapon squads set together here in this building. I think by accident right now. I think this is probably me back then just moving them. I probably like want to put them in different buildings back then because I'm like, oh no, being in the same building vulnerable. When in reality, it's like, actually, this is good, Beagle, do this more. You know, still, I hadn't really learned that yet. But I've got my Bradley CFE and snipers up on that nice vantage point on the right in the wooded hill, watching the main road that the enemy's going to use if they want to take eye again. I've got all this SHORAD sitting back here in case they try helicopter stuff. Honestly, I think too much in hindsight. Too much SHORAD. But they're cheap, so it's okay. Avengers are very spammable. They're actually my favorite US SHORAD because they're only 100 cost for Smoke and the Stingers. I love them. Smoke's very important for fighting helicopters. I like it a lot. I've got some infantry squads up here. You know, like things are fine. Things are good. Some cruise missiles coming in. But I think, if I remember correctly, I think I took a while to start helping my teammate take H here, and that was my big problem in hindsight of myself in this match. Is a bunch of stuff kept happening, and I kept letting myself get distracted from getting a move on. That's just mean. They took out a mech rifle AA. That's just mean. I've got so much SHORAD, what the hell, I have like my mech rifle AAs and my Avengers. I need like 2 of these units, not like 5 of them, but, you know, optimization. The harder my matches have been getting, the more I've been trying to optimize as much as I can my play. Because that's what it comes down to, right? You're really trying to hone yourself to be as good a player as the new challenging opponents you're facing. Unfortunately, I lose laser right as the rounds are coming in. Oh, but I can manually laser onto the forest anyway. Even though I've lost sight of the enemy units there, I still know where they were, and I can just use the laser to basically chase after them. I think one of those infantry units got away because they sprinted or just got away. But that's fine. Took out one of them, which is good. I'm bringing in effects now as well. My teammate's actually taking H. Didn't really need my help much, I think. I don't know if I helped too much there, so they're just doing a good job. We call this getting carried by good teammates, because my team's just doing good across the board. So I don't need to do more here. I still should be striving to do more for future matches, but to just improve myself as a player. But luckily for me, I don't need to do more here to win the match. Never good to rest on your laurels, but it is, you know, better to, if you're going to play the same way either way, better to win than to lose. So I'm glad I've got good teammates here who are helping me out. I brought in this Vex, and I see what I'm doing with it now. So I kind of let that harm, that anti-radiation missile go off too early there. I've put on hold fire now because my goal of this Vex is to actually chill. Oh, yeah, it's like loitering at the back there. So I think the enemy's been using like rocket arty or howitzers or something on me this match. I haven't been paying a lot of attention in hindsight. The Vex here I have configured with 3 cruise missiles and 2 anti-radiation missiles. Unfortunately, 1 now because I let one slip too early before I hit hold fire. The idea here is that this is like a one-man plane for solution for being able to do like counter battery and taking out enemy AA with like destruction of air defenses, that kind of thing. The combination of the seed missiles plus the cruise missiles allows this plane to defeat lighter AA networks on its own, slipping its missiles through. We'll struggle with middling AA systems to get all the missiles through a bit. Here we go. I think that's what I've been waiting for. We'll see how this goes. Because otherwise, when enemies shoot and scoot, you just can't really catch them in time with your own artillery. So this is my answer to that. The harm goes off. I think I forgot to RTB. It's still coming, isn't it? Oh god, did I forget to RTB it, or is it going home? Okay, we do get the Gimlers, which is great. I did RTB it, thank god. I think later on I do that again and I forget to RTB the Vex, and it's very painful. But in that case, you can kind of see how that works, right? Where if I had tried to draw beat on that with my rocket arty, there's no way I get that enemy rocket arty before it scoots away. If I try to do that with my Iron Thunders, I probably don't kill it before it gets away. When you're fighting, you know, competent enemies, like people who are competent in shoot and scoot tactics of artillery, you need something that's almost instant to react to them firing on you, especially with rocket arty, because they just fire the whole salvo on move. And that's what I love that Vex for. In some of my decks these days, I run 2 of them now. Especially in decks that don't have a lot of artillery in the support tab, so I can make up for my lack of that by having a lot of airborne artillery, essentially. Vex is basically an airborne artillery for me. And I love it. Oh, this deck is running 2 of them, actually, it looks like, because I'm calling another one in already. I just fucking love them. They're very good. They're expensive, but they're very good at what they do. And you usually don't lose them if you use them properly, because they're cruise missiles and seeds, so that isn't really a very dangerous job if you use it at the maximum of its range. And very good for catching out juicy targets or destroying enemy AA. In this case, what am I doing here? I've got my artillery. I've got a laser on that M1 Abrams, and I've got my artillery lining up on it. Iron Thunder's coming in. I think I had rocket already lined up on it too, and I didn't fire it yet. Someone else does. Oh, but I lose laser right as it's coming in. The fucker moves, and it's just gonna be a little bit late to get my shit in on it. They're tracked now, so they can't move. Oh, but the Iron Thunder rounds are just a little bit out of place. There is enemy Gimler's going off. I'm bringing in my Fex to try and shoot it down. I fucked up this run. Like, I think the Fex is here. I have no idea how I did this. I just fucked up the micro. And I, like, called the Fex in on top. And the Gimler's gets away is the worst part, because I wasn't even firing the missiles yet. Oh, that was my big mistake that I thought I was going to do with the last one. I remembered I fucked up effects in this game. I don't know how I did that. It's just a micro mistake. The poor effects pilot, though, so loyal, just being like, oh, okay, yeah, you want me to fly on top of it? You got it, boss. Like, no, please, like, recognize command is giving you the wrong order. Please read the orders back to confirm them. That was incorrect. Oh, well. They're dead now. we can blame it on them in the investigation. I'm sure. That'll be fine. I'm very sorry to that Fex's virtual family. Very sorry about that. So anyway, a little bit of a blunder there. But that's okay. Something I say a lot when I'm playing Broken Arrow to myself is actually a quote from another film they say Broken Arrow in, when we were soldiers. There's that part where, what is his name? Colonel Hal? I think like his radio guy brings in like napalm on top of them. And he's just like, that was a bad one. You don't worry about that one, though. You keep them coming. You're keeping us alive. That's kind of how you got to play Broken Arrow, honestly. You can't give up. It's a mental game. You cannot give up. You will make mistakes, and good opponents will exploit your mistakes all the time, and you will feel very bad and stupid. You cannot let it get you down. No one is flawless. No one is perfect, and you will never become perfect and flawless or as close to it as you can accomplish unless you keep trying. So whenever something like that happens, like that Fex, even though I'll still feel bad, I just always tell myself, whoa, God, the fucking drift into the booker there, a little bit of desync. Just always tell myself, alright, that was a bad one, but don't worry about that one. You just keep them coming. You ignore that one. That's just how it goes in Broken Arrow. You just gotta keep them coming. It's the only way you can stay sane. Because, God, it feels bad, though, when you waste a 500-point plane. Anyway, did lose my CFV there on the right, unfortunately. Red driving up those bookers. We've got pink over here now, trying to take the H point back as well, and gold. I've only just really been paying attention. But you've got a whole rainbow of US mirror match opponents here pushing H. You got red, maroon, gold, and pink, or it looks like I see maroon over there in the town side now, so maybe maroon swapped and these three are coming over. I haven't seen maroon here for a while, I guess. Either way, they are pushing H back right now, but smartly, my pea green player here, my pale green player here has parked their Amtrak of Raiders just on the point to block the cap, which is good. Part of the strength of holding the zone rather than having to contest it or conquer it is that you can just, hide a unit at the back of the zone, and they can't have that zone until they've cleared the whole thing that way. Generally a good thing to do. So that definitely a big advantage for holding H already, is the enemy has to clear all the way through H rather than just cap, dip their toes in their side of it, which is, a lot harder for them. They're going to expose themselves to a lot more fire to have to do that. But otherwise, you can probably see what I mean by why, in hindsight, my major criticism of myself in this match, again, was I think I just ended up being accidentally a bit too passive here. Kind of sitting on H, and I've been, or not sitting on H, sitting on I. I've been doing things, like I've been providing fire support, but I think with H being so close, I mean, we have been holding it, but I really needed to have more of my units move up and support. And I'm finally doing it here. Better late than never. Again, another thing you have to tell yourself is when you realize you've been making a mistake for like the past 20 minutes, okay, just move on. You know what? Better late than never has got to be the other mantra. I think I'm finally realizing here, hey, we need to move some guys up, even though it's not building, it's not perfect. Get my weapon squads in those trees. I think I'm going to do it soon, hopefully. Get some CFVs up there. Just be ready to try and stop the next big assault on H. I hope that's what I'm doing, because otherwise I look so idle and passive right now. Because I'm being very idle and passive. Bring up this longbow. I'm still leaving some units. I'm actually moving some up now, which I probably should have done a while ago, to get advanced recon of any enemy attacks on my zone. Enemy's got an F-18 just circling back there. I think it's waiting to strike some tanks of ours when it sees I think it's that cluster bomber loadout of theirs again. Other than that, though, I've really just been playing with my toys, playing with my Iron Thunders, playing with my MLRSs. Unfortunately, the enemy did get rid of that Amtrak on H, so they've started capping it now. Got a CFV here. CFV in the open against an APS Abrams. I need to smoke that CFV now because it isn't going to get the tow reload before the enemy gets to fire again. But you do see how one of the great things about the Bradley CFV, and Bradleys in general, is that their tow carrier ripple fires. It'll fire one, and then as soon as that one has landed, because it can only have one missile in the air at a time, it'll fire the second one. This is critical for fighting enemy armored vehicles, or any vehicle that has an APS. Because it allows you to get through the protection system on your own with that unit. And then I bring in these Iron Thunder shots as well. I've got the laser on, very CQB from the sniper. Unfortunately, with the smoke, I can't get the laser back on it. Oh, there goes my alarm, sorry. And the rounds ran out just there, so that thing is going to get away. I think it sees my snipers now, too. Look out! Oh! Bradley's putting out a tow, but at that range, I don't think it can follow up quick enough. If you're too far away, I think if you're over a kilometer, the Bradley cannot overwhelm enemy APS single-handedly because it's too far, the missile isn't fly for too long, so you don't get the second one up in time. I think if you're at a kilometer or under, though, you do defeat APS on your own, and that's what makes... Well, it's part of what makes the Bradley such a good system. Unfortunately, my Iron Thunder's got, like, cluster bombed there by that loitering Hornet, which is too bad. Didn't realize it at the time, but I see now that's what happened. But, you know, people will be like, hey, why do you use Bradleys? They'll come onto my stream and they'll be like, why do you use Bradleys? Why don't you just use AMPVs? They're better. And as I explained to them, no, they're not. I was surprised when I found it out. I did think the AMPV had just kind of like replaced the Bradley on paper because the Javelin is just better, right? But no, the AMPV Javelin, or any vehicle with a Javelin in the US side in this game, tends to only have 4 shots for one thing, whereas the Bradleys tend to have much more. ITs get finished off there, of course. But also, the rate of fire is far faster on the Bradleys, or with their tows. And if you use the modern version of the Bradleys, which I think you should be doing, they have a top attack tow. So it's kind of like a Javelin in the sense that it gets top attack as well, which means it can kill anything it fights. It can beat armadas. You know, a Bradley can beat an armada with the right micro. Which is fantastic stuff for such a cheap unit. Bradley CFEs, they're one of my favorite units in the game. They're so cost effective, they always feast in matches. They always get so many kills. But it is something to consider. I do still sometimes use AMPV Javs, more lately actually. But it's for a different purpose. The Javelins get fire and forget, which is great. But their slow rate of fire really means they're not doing much in their own to APS vehicles. More of a fun little add-on if they're on their own, or if you're using them in pairs, but... You know, it's not very cost effective to bring in 2 AMPV Javs to do the job 1 Bradley CFE could do to an enemy tank, so... Still got its uses, though. Now, I'm finally moving these weapon squads up. Finally! He's finally doing it. Really should have done this 20 minutes ago, you know, but... I'm often a scared little baby, and I'll be like, oh, I don't want to get caught out of position. What if the enemy suddenly comes back with all their units to push I, and my weapon squads are out of position, and I lose I, and I look like a chump? You know, sometimes it happens, but what happens much more often, as I've learned from experience in this game, is you sit still out of hesitation when someone needs you somewhere else on the map. Or, you know, maybe you should have just moved up and moved your front line up rather than sitting in the same spot all match. Because owning ground control is very important in this game. You'll be fighting your opponent in a 1v1 laning situation. You'll be fighting your opponent the same way, but if you have a chance to take more ground and decide that you're going to fight further up, that's great, because that gives you more time. Even if they beat you, you have time to fall back and resupply, do a defense in depth, basically. You have time to bring in more reinforcements, because the battle took place further away from the objective zone, so they still got to resupply and travel to the objective after they fought you up ahead of it. If you want to hold an area, dig in front of it. If you're not in front of the area, you're not super in position or committed to really holding it. You're just there to kind of fight for it, struggle for it. It's easier said than done. You can't always get that going, but when you can, try to be in front of an area and try to move up your lines when you can. You got to balance it, of course, because if you move up your lines too much, you're going to be ahead of your team's general line, and then you're going to be at risk of being bombed by enemy air support more because you'll be too far away from the Patriot net. You'll be at risk of artillery more. But, you know, it's all a balancing act. In this case, I've got kind of a bit of a flank here. I'm, like, bulged out ahead of the general line, but I'm in the right flank of the team. So I've kind of made this into an L-shaped defensive position, an L-shaped ambush on the enemies who are about to drive down this road. And I think, despite how long it took me to get into position for this, I am going to be in time for this big armored push. The points are quite close here, so it's really anyone's game. This is what I mean by I felt bad in hindsight to not have been doing more, because it's quite a close game. I need to be out there grinding, out there putting up more pressure on the enemy, keeping them busy. I wasn't really putting pressure on the enemy, though, this match at this point, and that was a big flaw of mine. But at least now I have brought in these weapon squads, and there is a lot of Abrams coming, and we are going to get on them. I'm not sure how much we're going to do, because we're not in buildings, so we're going to take a lot of fire in return. But we are getting some javelin shots out. We're popping smokes, popping APS charges. Weapon squad, like Bradley toes. Ripple fires, and both fire at the same time. But because they fire one after the other quicker than a single javelin squad, they are able to get through APS on their own. I think all the way up to the maximum extent of their range with javelin squad. Which is really, really, really good. Red, very wisely, sends up something to spoil this little L-shaped ambush by sending up a striker with some troopers in it to come and put the cat amongst the pigeons. Really get rid of my weapon squads being able to hold that position. Luckily for me, though, to have some kind of impact here in these last moments, the weapon squads have already done their job, I think. We've already done a lot of damage to that big convoy of APS tanks that was rolling in. Here's my Fex that I've been loitering for a while. I'm had it hanging out for enemy artillery, and I'm sending this in now. Not really a lot of targets for the Fex Behemoth right now, honestly. Need to use it or lose it, though, because I've got no fuel. Yeah, just going for that. Going for that AA. Getting my other harm out. Firing my cruise missiles off. Weapon squad's here out of ammo, which is usually a good day for weapon squad if you see they're out of ammo. It's like when you see an Avenger that's out of ammo. When it's fired all 12 slingers, you're like, that thing has had a good round. That's good. Usually a weapon squad that's fired all six javelins is usually at a pretty decent time too. Not sure if my Fex got through there because I kind of fired trickle disjointed. And so the enemy had time to shoot him down. Cruise missiles are very slow. The harms are hard to stop, but cruise missiles are pretty easy to stop if the enemy AA hasn't been degraded by the harms enough. And then those troopers are still hanging on there. Finish off my weapon squads. I'm trying to provide some more support over on that left side to see if I can, but the enemy's doing like a really good job of trying to take this match back. And right now, with only a minute left in the game, they're set to. +3 flag control for them. Do I lose this match? I can't remember. I can't remember. I've got an M113 down there, making sure we hold the cap on H. Oh man, it takes 30 seconds to flip a cap from red to blue. And I've got mint green over there with an Abrams. Fighting their whole match. They're capping that point back, hopefully. Don't know if we're ahead enough to get KD advantage. Yes, we are. We're getting KD advantage now. We have 1,000 points plus over the enemy's destruction score. We're trading well. We're killing well. I lose 2 units there, which doesn't help that, but we're going to see CFE, I think, here to try and kill those troopers at the end here. I need to get those snipers. Yeah, there you go. Get on it. As I say it, I realize it. In hindsight, get on it. Kill them. Get more kills. Keep that kill advantage. But we're pretty far and away now. I think the enemy threw a lot of shit down mid to try and hold that cap. And unfortunately for them, that actually nullifies the advantage they've got of holding that cap. Because as you can see here, we're now so far ahead. In that last minute, we went up like 1,500 destruction score compared to them, well, without losing much stuff ourselves. And they do lose the cap right at the end as well, so it's a double bad time for them. My teammate is very toxic and rude. And GG, that's that. This team blue, said one of them right at the end. How mean, everybody was trying. It was a good match. You know, I won't be too negative and harp on it, but I will say it one more time. Yeah, my biggest problem, I think, in hindsight, definitely let myself get too passive after I finished fighting Maroon over, I believe it was Indigo was the letter that I was fighting over. That was such a perfect time for me. Once Maroon switched off that area and no one came to replace them, perfect time for me to push really aggressively on H. You just bring in new units, or just take half my defenders and just go down there. Or, you know, even go somewhere else, or just, you know, do more. In the end, I was a bit passive there, though. My destruction score is fine, and my death score is very low, which is, you know, you can do that while being aggressive, but it's also a natural effect of when I'm a bit more passive, my destruction score will be less. You know, I'm err on the side of caution. I try to keep my units alive. It's one of the things I enjoy most about Broken Arrow is trying to play a good match where I'm efficient and effective, but also I keep my units alive. I love keeping my guys alive. You know, I think, looking back on this match in hindsight, again, I think this was like a couple of weeks ago. Don't quote me. I think I've hopefully wouldn't make the same mistake today as often. But I do still make it. Like, let's be honest. It's very easy in this game to get distracted a bit. And you look at the clock and 50 minutes have passed by and you've sat in the same spot and you haven't really accomplished much. You haven't taken much ground. You haven't put pressure out. It's really important to try and put pressure out in this game. It's a very mental game, and it's very initiative-based, I think. And often what matters even more than having a good KD or even good zone control on the flags or even, perfect micro and flashy plays, what often matters the most is being on the line with your team and making yourself a problem. Because me on the sidelines there, even though on paper my stats are great at the end of this match, I'm not helping my team very much at that point because I've won my lane in a laning sense. I've won my lane against Maroon. I'm just kind of chilling. And I need to be being a problem for the enemy because, a little bit of artillery and fire support with effects is fine. But I need my units rolling up on a motherfucker, and I need them to go, oh shit, that motherfucker's here. And I need to do that because that's going to distract them, it's going to stun lock their brains, it's going to make them go, oh, the thing they were about to do, I'm not doing that anymore because I got to worry about this motherfucker with his, 4 Humvees. It doesn't matter what units they are, I should need to be out there, providing pressure, right? That said, that's, like I said, I said I wasn't going to hop on it too much. That would be my flow of this match, definitely, my big one to work on, and I think I did try to work on it after this one. Other than that, though, positives, it took a little while, but we did end up grinding our way out into holding the eye point with a little help from our friends. I think pushing around the side of the village through the woods and taking the high ground positions was really good, both for winning the fight and then holding the fight later. I certainly had enough Shorad. I had those Kiowas, which I think were helpful in the end. Hadn't dialed in my infantry play fully yet, but we're getting there. As always, CFEs are very useful. And I'm not super comfortable with artillery play, at least at this point I wasn't. So I think I made good use of my Iron Thunders and even my Gimlers. I was still trying to get used to rocket artillery at this point. I wasn't using it all the time, but, I got some good strikes with the rocket artillery. I think it was handy. But other than that, it wasn't like a Hollywood blockbuster worth of action for me after the first little fight. But, I said there's many reasons I haven't been doing as many videos as I should be on YouTube. And I said some of them before. Another one of them is, I think I was probably accidentally getting too, let me pause, perfectionist in my head. I think I was probably starting to fall into the trap of, I would play a match, and in the press matches before, when I only had those 16 matches to show, it's like, well, every single one of these I'm going to do. And I think it was very good because it showed you who I really was as a player, and it shows the ups and downs, not just my best bets. And I think, though, there's always a feeling of being like, oh, I play a match and be like, that one wasn't very interesting. Oh, we won, but I didn't do much in it. Or, oh, we lost and I made some really dumb, stupid mistakes. And I'm just kind of, why did I make those mistakes? I'm better than that. Don't show that one. And in the end, it's all bullshit. I think I've just got to show just whatever matches I've got. Because, one, that's going to show you who I am. Because, really, something I realized or learned a while back, the difference between your average kind of player, in a sport, I think, or in a video game, compared to, a competitive, actually, truly professional kind of player, is consistency. I think an average player, average play, you can have your moments of brilliance where you do something that a pro player does, and, you have an amazing trade cost-effectively, you're strategically brilliant for a moment, you just absolutely clown on your opponent in one match, da-da-da-da-da. I think any average level player can have those moments, and even have them, reasonably often, not uncommonly, I guess. But I think what makes a pinnacle of play, what makes the kind of professional level of play that we want to strive towards, is consistency. A pro player is someone who is going to always do that, or almost always do that. No one is perfect, no one's a superhuman, no one's a robot. But that's the thing, I think. The more consistent you are, the better you are as a player. It's not just, oh, this one time I had the match of my life and my tank got 20 kills, look at me, I'm the best. Well, good for you, you had a good game. But if consistently over 10 matches, 7 out of 10 matches, your tanks go hard and get 4 times their value, okay, you're a pretty consistent tank player. That's the difference, I think. I forget why I started this tangent. I'm so sorry. There was a reason I was saying this. something, making mistakes and trying not to make them in the future. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Back at it for me with these. Gonna try to do... Look, I try not to say things because then I inevitably disappoint people because I forget to follow through. Or not forget, sorry, I fail to follow through with them. But I'm also going to intentionally do that here because I hate the idea of disappointing people. I'm going to try to do one of these at least one every 2 days like I was doing before, if not one a day. gonna try to set aside a couple of hours to A, take an hour to record a match, B, take an hour to commentate a match. I've actually got like probably half a dozen good ones in the can right now. That I think will all be pretty interesting to watch. Because having said that about cherry picking matches and the desire to do that, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, I was talking about being a perfectionist. I think I got into the mental habit without realizing to be like, oh, I'll just record another one until I get the really good one. And I think I still will, I'll try to be smart in not showing ones that legitimately are like less interesting or stuff that we've seen before on this channel too much or are kind of boring and no one really does anything. But I'll also try to just like not do that too much. I think I just try to show what I've got, especially in terms of like if I do something embarrassing, fuck it, I'm just going to show that. We'll talk about it, and hopefully as we keep playing this game, I'll get more consistent. But I will try to just get out what I've got. And then record more. I really look forward to... what's the next one? Let me look. I'm going to look at my folder. The next one I will do is probably... This was Ruda on the Hill. Okay, so this one was a bit older, but then my next one I'll do is actually from like 2 days ago, so it's a lot more modern in the play. I just like this old one on the hill and I wanted to show it. I thought it was a fun one to get back into the channel on, but the next one is the one where I got accused of cheating, and that'll be funny. And then those same people beat me in a match afterwards, and they were still mad about it, but it was later that night. So we'll probably show that one too. I got schwacked on that one. I'll probably show that if there's... Even if it's just analyzing how we got schwacked so hard on it, I think it'll be a good one to look at. Got some on both tees. I got a bunch of good ones. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it for too long. I got like some good ones coming up, and they're all 2 or 3 days recent instead of being 2 weeks recent. So I look forward to that. Anyway, the other thing I want to do, and I'm going to sign off here after I say it, or try to, is leading up as we were doing the press match reviews and all that, and leading up to getting into this game. I kept saying I wanted to help people get into this game on release because this game is very fun. But I think, personally, it has a very high skill floor, which means it is hard to get into. It's hard to break that skill floor, that skill cliff. It's hard to break that point from going from you're a noob and like the game is very punishing and toxic to play and feels bad, to, oh, you actually get enough of this game to have fun in it. Because if you're not having fun, you won't keep pushing through until you break that barrier. Long story short, because of, not doing videos here, I haven't been doing a lot of the tutorial videos I wanted to do either. I've started actually making a in-game tutorial scenario, and I'm hoping to get those out and make videos of them too to help brand new players get used to the game and then, more experienced stuff later. But also, I would really like to make some stuff quickly that is targeting the problems you are having. I have some ideas. So I want to say, please comment if you're listening still and tell me things you are having trouble with. And if you see someone commenting a thing you are also having trouble with and you want to see it answered, thumb up the comment. And I will look at those and I will consider them. I'm not going to say that I will literally just do whatever the most thumbs up one is, because I have my own ideas as well. I know people complain about how to use infantry 2 weeks. I want to, talk about infantry, because I've got more use for them. People complain about barbs. I don't know if they still do, but, dealing with APS and heavy armor, that's probably something. I don't know if people still have trouble with helicopters. Really just, I would be interested to see from the comments at large, if you guys don't mind telling me, guys, girls, and MBs, what are you having trouble with? What would you like if you could ask me for some advice? Answered, essentially. Like, how do you deal with this thing? This thing is stopping you from having fun with the game. You don't know how the fuck to deal with it. You've tried asking other people maybe, and they give you answers and it didn't really help you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, you need this thing answered. Tell me what it is. I will see if I can, at the very least, answer your comment first, and then maybe make a video about it. I tried making, like, a tutorial video about, like, for instance, I tried making, like, how to play tanks. I was just going to do it, but I'm having this problem right now where to do a tutorial that I'm proud of and, like, want to put out, if I don't script it and read off a script, I feel like it gets too long and rambly and yappy. I'm very, I feel like it doesn't make for good watching. But then if I try to script it, it takes too long to make it, it doesn't come out. So I'm trying to figure out my workflow for making like how-to videos, and trying to keep it short, but also something I can make. Anyway, we'll see how I go with that, but I want to help. I think probably making the scenarios help a lot with me, because I think if I make the scenario, I want to make them anyway, like the tutorial scenario I was talking about, and then I can just do a video of the tutorial scenario and be like, well, here's the how-to, I've done it. So we'll see. Also, I keep learning the damn game over and over again. So I was about to make one about how to play tanks. I was like, hey, I'm playing tanks. I was like 1300 elo at that point, like 3 weeks ago. and I discovered this thing that I can just drive tanks around at the start and just play armored while, and just kind of like bully enemy units because I got good at tank micro. And I was about to make a video being like, hey, I've learned like a really, honestly, good way to just carry solo queue matches. Be the armored player, drive around, play the whole map, assist your teammates, break through an area, tell them to dig in infantry there and go somewhere else, and assist your teammate, defend an area, and then go somewhere else. It was working great. And then I streamed the day after that, and like, I just started playing against these players who had just got better, and they would just cluster bomb me as soon as I drove a tank out. And I'm used to that now. I had to learn how to deal with that. But then I went through a period of going like, I went straight from, oh, tanks are so easy to play. Fuck yeah, just play tanks. This is so easy to, oh my god, every time I bring out a trophy tank, someone immediately cluster bombs it and I lose it. And they keep doing it till I have no tanks left. So that got turned on its head real fast. I'm only just starting to feel comfortable with tanks again now, after having, playing a bit of a higher elo for a bit. Anyway, I'm rambling. Point is, do all that shit. Let me know what you want to know. I'll try to reply and try to help out. Sorry for all the comments I haven't replied to in the last few weeks. I was just dead to my YouTube channel for a while. I do that sometimes. Just worrying about my life and streaming. But I'm going to try to do this again, so hope you enjoyed. Please let me know also just your thoughts in general. Hope you're having fun with this game. If you're not, please tell me. I'll try to help. And I will, see you for the next one of these. Please have a good one. Bye-bye. That's it. See ya.